working in universities at that time, and also is a spiritual artist, medium, sitter for physical phenomena, and born in Garden City, New York. But you're living now down in Lilydale, is that correct?
I live in Lilydale and I live in Virginia Beach. The snow got a little bit too much for me here in the Dale.
So you moved down south.
Yeah, everybody's heard the stories of Buffalo snow, I'm sure, because it's been kind of international. So yes, I got tired of the snow, so I've got a winter place down in Virginia Beach. So I summer in Lilydale's and winter down in Virginia Beach.
Well, now Sue is retired from the day job, and the day job was in Rochester Institute of Technology. Is that correct?
That's correct. And that's what actually I was going to tell you brought me to spiritualism. Because after September 11th, I was down in New York City and actually near the World Trade Centers when the first one fell. And because of all the chaos and difficulties at that time, I saw a job offer in Rochester, New York, and I finally decided to apply for it and move out of New York City, where I'd been living for like 20 years.
And
So
Rochester, New York is the birthplace of modern day spiritualism. Yeah, no coincidence there then. But that wasn't your first spiritual event, though, was it? When you were 16, you had a near-death experience.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. So that was what really, and a lot of people have it after somebody close to them passes, they all of a sudden become aware of their spirituality and their spiritual journey, put it that way. So yes, so that was awakening. Before that, I knew that I had some mediumistic skills when I was a child. I showed some signs of it, but that was the experience that really kind of catapulted me into looking for more spirituality.
And you've been looking in depth because you're the author of several books, many of which are on spiritualism, spirituality, physical phenomena, etc. And also your day job as well. You've got quite a number of books about communication.
Yes.
So how many books in total have you written then?
11.
11 books, wow. That's very impressive.
Yeah, 11. And the academic books are on internet. I was one of the first people to do internet communication and research how people are communicating online. And then I also did research on visual communication.
Wow.
And I gotta tell you, I've got it right here. My last academic book was Visual Spirituality.
Oh, yeah.
Where I actually tried to document why the spiritual was taken out of art, modern art. Mm-hmm. And there's a whole chapter in here on spiritual art. And other people like myself, like Ambridge Davies and myself, have been trying to get spiritual art put into the context of art history.
Well, that's impressive. Because it's certainly all the modern art concepts started with the ladies. I think there was two sisters, were they, in America?
The Bank sisters?
Yeah, the Bank systems and Bank sisters. And there was also other women, maybe in Britain, who were right at the forefront of modern forms of art before it was even recognized as art.
Yes, Georgina Houghton did abstract art years and years before Kandinsky.
And she said she was inspired by spirits, didn't she?
Yes, she used planchette.
So not just books, but you're also prolific on YouTube and Facebook videos as well. You got a Facebook site. You got your own YouTube channel with quite a lot of content, including discussions on spirituality. Yeah. And also you've been working for Wendy and Victor Zammit on their regular programs. You're a regular teacher on a variety of formats. This Zoom is particularly useful, isn't it?
Yes.
Just apart from the time zones, because Australia is different for all of us. But
well,
then,
it's, yeah.
sorry, go on.
I do a class on Tuesday nights at 9 o'clock, and it's early morning in Australia, so I get a lot of Australian students.
Excellent. And also, you've studied at the Arthur Findlay College, and you have Spiritualist National Union qualifications.
Yes, I have a CSNU.
Excellent. So let's go back then to when you were 16 and you had the near-death experience. What was that like? How was that fixed in your memory?
Oh, very vividly. I mean, it was interesting. It was what they call, I think they call it a shared death experience, because I wasn't dying, but the person that I was in love with was dying. So what happened was I went through the tunnel. You know, they talk about going through the tunnel. Yeah, and it's like I went through the tunnel, and it was like all different scenes, and all the scenes were everything that the two of us had ever done together.
Wow.
And then at the end of the scene, what happened was, in my own mind, I said he's dead, and at that point, the image froze, and then it shattered like a piece of glass. And as the pieces fell down, I could see the room.
Wow.
My normal eyesight came back.
What an incredible experience. Oh, that's the wrong word. Incredible means without credibility. What a
Yeah.
wonderful experience.
So
I
yeah,
know.
nobody could explain it to me.
No, but before we go on a second there's a point you just made that is incredibly useful, because you said about the tunnel and the memories and the detractors of near-death experiences use a description of the brain shutting down and they've described how it could produce all the memories like a videotape of your life, where your life flashes before your very eyes. But it wasn't your life flashing before your eyes. It was the dying person.
Well, it was me with the person.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but your brain wasn't shutting down. So that's the point I'm making, is that any detractor of that as a proof of life beyond physical death, it doesn't work, does it? You know, you're um, the white crow that proves that not all crows are black, because you're having that same experience as a person who dies and sometimes comes back from a close call with death, but you were having it without the threat of death. So
That's correct.
I think that's fascinating.
Well, I mean, because I'm playing devil's advocate, unless you could say that I was so grief stricken that I wished I was dead, but I mean, that wasn't a thought in my mind.
But the detractors say it's all brain chemicals and all lack of oxygen and all things like that,
Oh,
don't
then
they?
no,
Yeah.
absolutely not.
So you learned from that experience the fact that nobody could explain it. So did you start searching straight away then?
I mean, not direct. I mean, yes. I mean, that started my search. And for that reason, I could not accept the religion that I was brought up in, because that religion couldn't explain it. And all the time I lived in New York City, yes, I would go to different spiritual meetings and try to meet people, but nothing ever clicked. It wasn't until I found spiritualism that it all clicked,
Yeah.
that finally the answer came of what happened.
But what kind of experiences did you have as a child then?
Well, I had clear knowing. I mean, I knew things. I just knew things, and I didn't have any understanding of how I knew it. I just knew it. And as it turned out years later, that what I thought I knew was correct. So my
Right.
knowing was correct. Um, but I was stamped out of me. They didn't want me to explore it. So my parents couldn't deal with it. So they sent me to a psychiatrist, and
Oh, great. And did that
yeah.
work?
Well, it just made me shut up.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I never told them about my near death experience because they
Couldn't handle
couldn't
it.
yeah. So I just kept quiet about it, you know.
But then you eventually took the job in Rochester Institute of Technology. followed a working career. How did you then sort of move into spiritualism?
Well, it was really funny. I had a friend in at Rochester, another person who came in the same year I did, and she was very interested in magic and spiritual things. And we had a third friend who said, "Oh, well, let's go to Lilydale." And so we were like, "What's Lilydale?" So she said, "Oh, that's where all the mediums are." So anyway, we did a day trip because it's 2 hours from Rochester to Lilydale. And so we did a day trip. We came to Lilydale and I got a reading and my friend got a reading. And I was like, wow, this is really interesting. I said, there must be a place like this in Rochester. So my friend said, yes, there's a church called the Church of Divine Inspiration with Edgar Cayce. And so I immediately called them on the phone and they said, yes, we're having a service this Sunday. And I went to the church and it felt like home.
Or
It just, and I'm still a member of that church. So yeah, that is really my home church.
do you do much with Lilydale now then?
Actually, that's really interesting because last year I did a conference here in Lilydale where, and this is real, I brought physical mediumship back to Lilydale.
Wow.
The Lilydale, they really haven't promoted the physical mediums that used to live here. Lilydale started with physical mediumship. And I mean, there was like 30, lots and lots of physical mediums that were here. They did materialization, trumpet work, slate writing, all of these different things, but most of them have been forgotten. So, and there was a ban for years in Lilydale against having physical mediumship on the platform.
On the platform. All right.
Yeah, we have a big auditorium here in Lilydale. And in the past, people like the Bang sisters would stand on the platform and create their precipitated art. So they worked on the platform here. And the Campbell's brothers also did the precipitated art here in Lilydale. But because of the controversies like in the 1920s and 30s about the fraud and all of the fraud with physical mediumship, it got to the point where the Dale board of directors said, okay, we're not going to do physical mediumship anymore. So the mental mediumship took over and all the people forgot about the physical mediumship. Although I have found that there were always people underground that were doing physical mediumship, and I've been lucky enough to meet some of them.
Have you? Wow. So
Yeah.
what experiences have you had then meeting those depicted
Well,
souls?
unfortunately, I haven't been able to sit with any of them, but because they're older. But I've just been able to identify who they were and get some stories about table tipping and different types of things that have gone on in seances with them. We used to have a lot of direct voice mediums here too. So,
What
but what I did was, so I did this conference called Physical Mediumship in Victorian Times. And in the Dale itself, we could only work in the light. We couldn't do any dark seances. Besides, they don't have any spaces really in the Dale to do that. So my friend Neil Zipkowski has a place about 4 miles from here. So we did all the dark seances at his house.
right.
So we had 4 physical mediums. We had Gary Mannion, Bill Bolt, and Michael Shane come and work with everybody. And so during the day, they would teach classes on trance and mediumship. And then at night, they would do physical seances over at Neil's house.
Are you living at Lilydale now then? In
At the moment, I'm in the Dale, yeah.
yeah, all right. I did. Yeah, I thought I remember that from when I first met you, which was a few years ago now.
Yeah, no,
Less than you, I no doubt.
yeah. So I'm here. So then, anyway, so then we had Michael Shane. Michael Shane has done a number of outboard demonstrations um, in the Lilydale Auditorium.
But I saw one just before we started talking from that event, I think. Somebody's put it on your Facebook group, haven't they? And they've,
Well, we just did it again this year. They're
right,
allowing to do these preseason conferences. So this year, what we did was we did I did intuition, mediumship, trance, and physical mediumship. And then on the physical mediumship day, Michael and Julie came in again here, did airport demonstrations.
You think we'd be allowed to put the video that was taken of the airports
I'm sure that wouldn't be a problem. Yeah. I mean, if it's out on Facebook, it's out, and I'm sure Julie and Michael wouldn't mind. I know some people say that don't believe Michael's airports, but I have to tell you that when I've seen the airports that he's done and the airports that Bill Bolt has done, there's absolutely no way that they could have swallowed these things because they're sharp, they're pointed. There's too many of them that come out. Besides, I've done airports myself, so I know it's not faked, although I don't do the vortex in my mouth.
Well, before we come on to your own airports, let's go back to Michael's. The video is very impressive. With they
I mean, so Michael, yeah, he does. And he's these beautiful gemstones come out, and the funny thing is that both Michael and Bill, were joking that they don't like to do the airports in their mouth because it breaks their teeth.
Oh no.
Yeah, because what happened
like that.
No, because it's a vortex that's right here in the mouth, and I guess it's slightly inside the mouth, and when the objects come out, they are sharp and heavy, and so they could break a tooth. But I mean, Bill once had a arrow, Indian arrow this big in his mouth at the end of the seance. I mean, there's no way he could have swallowed this thing. It was way too big. And so we were going to take the tape off his mouth, and he was like, no, 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 no. He's like, slow, slow, slow. And as we took the tape off his mouth, this arrowhead had pierced through the tape, and it's like this big.
Wow.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
As you say, you couldn't possibly swallow that, could you? Mm-hmm. Why gems, stones, etc., the pointy things? Why those?
Well, people say, I know everybody in England is very much into evidential mediumship. We're not as much so here in the States, but I have to say that some of the objects that have been apported do have evidential meanings for people.
Yeah.
So some of I know there was a pin that Bill apported that one of the recipients realized associated with her brother who had passed immediately.
Yeah, now that is different, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. We've had rosary come through for people. We've had coins that come through with different dates. With Bill, I had a note come through from him, a written note. So there are things that are evidential that do come through with certain mediums at times. Now the gems, and I've talked to Michael about the gems because I took gems that he apported and had earrings made out of them. And the jeweler definitely thought they were real aquamarines. So there was no question that they were real gemstones. But Michael tells me he doesn't always bring through real gemstones. He will bring through different objects as well, but they're not plastic.
No plastic whatsoever. Yeah. I think that's a big difference.
Not true. They have brought through plastic apports.
Why?
Why? Well, that's a different story. So you let me know when you're ready for that story.
Okay. Oh, go on then. Let's move.
Unfortunately, Bill Bolt passed away about a month ago.
Oh.
He was a very, very, very good physical medium, also very good with his mental mediumship. I mean, Bill knew people's thoughts. I mean, it was amazing. He's told me things that just blew me away. And unfortunately, what happened was he had done a conference in Albany, New York, and it wasn't the best time for him. Things didn't go as well. And he left the conference, and I know he said to my friends, all I want is peace. And he was supposed to come down to see me in Virginia Beach, and all of a sudden we got a message that somebody was sick, that he was sick, and he was in the hospital. What happened is shortly after that conference, about a month after the conference, Bill started getting headaches. And so he went to the ER, and they found out that he had brain cancer.
Oh,
And he was dead within a month.
well,
I know, wow. A week after he died, I was doing my conference here in Lilydale, my preseason conference. And what had happened was we had a big eclipse here in April.
yeah.
And during eclipse, my mediumship had changed. I started getting apports.
Oh,
And so we all the same people got together with me. And in the seance, all of a sudden these apports started to appear. And an apport hit my friend on the head. It was a piece of paper, hit my head on the head, went down to the floor. We heard, 2 coins dropping from the ceiling. When the seance was over, she said to the guy next to her, "Did you drop something?" And he was like, "No." She went down onto the floor, and I have it. She went down and picked up the floor, and there was this piece of paper there. And she opened up the piece of paper, and inside the piece of paper was this Mother Mary medallion.
ah,
And on it was written in French, "Hi, my sweet girl." And it's written on a notepad from the Waldorf Astoria that looks like it came from the 1930s. And it
well,
has a little angel on the top of it. So I knew it had come from Bill. I knew it had come from Bill Bolt, because Bill was the only medium that I had known that ever apported paper. He had done that at a seance I was doing. So we said, okay, we got to try this again the next night. So the next night we sat, and again, another apport came through, and my friend had cut her thumb and gotten stitches. So we hear this apport come through. Somebody looks on the ground, and we're like, well, what is it? And they go, he goes, "It looks like a finger." We're like, what? It was a thumb. It must have been like magicians, I think, use these thumbs in their tricks. And so it was metal, but it looked like skin color. And it was perfect thumb that actually fit over her thumb where the injury was. So we all go, this is Bill. This is Bill, because he had a big sense of humor. Later on, I looked under the cushion on my chair, and I found 2 more apports. I found a rose quartz and a piece of moldavite. So we said, okay, we're doing this again a third night. Now, the third night, I said, okay. I said, Bill, if you're really with us, you have to give me my ring. I was in a seance with Bill, and there were 13 women, and he apported 12 rings.
ah,
I was number 13, and I was the only woman in the room that did not get a ring. So I said, okay, Bill, give me my ring. So again, the apports come through, and this is what he gave me. Talk
yeah,
about the little plastic ring.
yeah. So that's the link with the plastic, then, is it?
The link to the plastic.
Yeah.
It lights up.
Somebody with a great sense of humor.
Yes, Bill had a great sense of humor. So where he found this thing, I have no idea. But yes, I got my ring. I got my ring. So we know that it's him working with us. And he's in some of the seances later, he does make an appearance. He does come through. Yeah, but he hasn't been bringing us apports again. He has told me that he wants to work with more women to create more female physical mediums.
Yeah. Who's the medium in the circle then, where you sit? Is there a recognized? You're it. You're the medium.
On the medium, yeah. Yeah.
So do you have any physical phenomena apart from since Bill has gone over?
Oh yeah, well we get we just did a seance the other night, and of course it's hard for me because I don't know what's going on.
Right.
But the messages we're getting, because of my Edgar Cayce work, we're getting more ascended master types of spirits coming through.
Right.
So we're more interesting information, or more in-depth spiritual information, put it that way.
Yep.
We get a lot of spirit lights. I've had trumpets move. I have a lot of electrical things that go on, like my tea kettle went on in the kitchen, which lights up, and things like that happen. What are the other phenomena? People get touched. People get healing, touch, lights, at ports. Of course, we see a lot of transfiguration,
Right.
lot of transfiguration. They keep telling me that the faces just keep changing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And in one seance, they told me that the faces they saw were the faces of the old mediums that were in the assembly hall
Right.
there.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
so they're seeing their faces.
so with the union in Britain, you did mental mediumship. At what
Yes.
point did you merge in the physical sittings?
Well, what really happened was I did trance and I did mental mediumship when I was at Arthur Findlay College. So
Right.
I have been working on the trance work. And I don't know if you know Sharon Harvey. She's
I
a
don't know
tutor
that.
there.
No, I
Anyway,
don't know the lady. No.
yeah, Sharon came over here to the United States, and we were doing some seances with her at my house. And I sat down for trance, and all of a sudden she yelled out, "That's physical mediumship." And I had no idea.
Right.
So, and I didn't, I mean, I sat, but I didn't really sit for it. And all of a sudden it's just blossomed. And it's just
Wonderful.
been in the past few months.
Past few months. Well, so what are you in a deeper trance state now, or pretty much the same as before? And how
You
deep
know,
do you go under?
I have gone deep to the point where, I totally don't remember anything, but I usually have a slight sense of awareness.
Right.
Like there's a couple of, there'll be like, it's like almost like there's a couple times during the seance where where I'll start to come back a little bit and I'll remember something and then I'll go back into
Right.
the trance.
So do you think it'll develop where you're totally out of it?
I don't know. I mean, we don't know who my control is yet. There's different people coming through and it's changing right now. I mean, I know who my spirit guide is, who I'm assuming is my gatekeeper on all of this, but we're not quite sure who. He hasn't really revealed, or the spirit team hasn't revealed themselves to me yet
Right.
as to like in control.
Sounds like Bill Bolt is one of them then.
I know. Well, no, yes. I mean, Bill definitely is, but part of what they're telling me is that, I mean, Bill's so new, still so new on the other side.
Yeah.
That, I mean, it's amazing that a week after his death that he was able to come through. I do know that he did come through me, and I did a seance in his seance room in his chair. And I know that he did come through. He did come through because the person who usually works with me told me the personality was a totally different personality than anything I've ever done.
Right.
And his partner told me that they took my hands. I had to put my hands in the chair, like as if because he would be strapped down. So they moved my hands so as if they were strapped down in the chair. And she said my hands, because my hands are also changing. They're elongating. I'm getting that phenomena.
Mm,
And she said the hands look like his hands on the chair.
lovely.
No, I know I was blending with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many sit in the circle then? Are they regular sitters?
I don't have regular sitters. That's,
That's even better then. That's the way I like to attend things.
yeah. So, and I
Because that means that if I pop over to New York State at some point, I'd probably be able to invite it in.
Absolutely,
Excellent.
absolutely. You know,
Wonderful.
so when I find people that are interested, you know, I invite them in. So I'm always looking for some people. Um, somebody said to me the other day, we're looking for a seance and who's doing something. And I said, well, I am, you can come. And I just say to them, okay, do you give them what they need? You know, just do a seance for what the people need. And so they all seemed happy. I mean, I'm not quite sure what was going on, but they told me they were seeing a whole bunch of lights, more lights than I um have seen. And you know, and I do have pictures of me with ectoplasma like coming up off my head and that kind of things. So it is transfiguration. It's not overshadowing that I know that's going on.
Yeah.
Um,
Sounds like ectoplasmic mediumship, doesn't it?
yeah, yeah, because they've also taken pictures of me where my face is absolutely blank. There is no face.
Right.
It's all covered with ectoplasma.
So do you sit in the dark and put on a light, or
Usually I sit
in a
with the
light?
lights, and sometimes depending on who's working with me, I do have one friend, Steve, that when Steve comes and works with me, we tend to get a little more phenomena. But that's probably because he's with me. Um, but he will turn the lights off for a while in the dark. But I have been darkening the room out more than I used to.
Right.
So the room is very, very dark, and we usually have a red light on me.
Right.
Yeah.
What did you think of the union's protocol for blacked out seances when they instigated it some time ago?
Well, you know, I was there at the college with all of them, with Scott Milligan, and when they were doing all of that, and was present at a number of Scott's seances there. It has been controversial. It had a real spin-off because there were people from associated with Arthur Findlay College here at Lilydale that insisted that Lilydale institute the same protocol.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Right. So it
But
had
they're
had
not
a
obliged to, are they? Because they're not
no, they're not.
part of the
Right.
union.
They haven't. That's why they don't allow dark seances here. You know,
Isn't it? There's nothing wrong with dark seances. Because there's invariably a red light goes on at some point. You, in my
yes,
experience, anyway.
yes, and the thing is that they don't really have a space for it.
Right.
So unless they were going to create a space for it, um, it's potentially problematic. Maybe with all of us doing more physical mediumship, they'll do it. But we still have people just going over to Neil's house. It's easier because his place is totally blacked out and is all set up for it.
Excellent. Yeah.
You know, so we do it there, and that's the way we get around it because there's no space here. And yeah, unfortunately, the bias against dark seances from that started at the Arthur Findlay College has carried over here.
Yeah. It started before Arthur Findlay College. It was started in Banyan Retreat
Oh, the Banyan, yeah.
with a
Well,
video.
I know the whole thing with Gary and what the whole story, and I know all of that, but I've seen a number of Gary seances, and um there were enough light, and also I saw light from the ectoplasma, you know, in there. So I know that it wasn't Gary himself out of the cabinet. And I know I've heard all of the excuses, whichever one you call it. When we had Gary here in Lilydale, it was because he's a wonderful teacher. So we had him teaching here.
Right.
Yeah.
Comes over to a friend of ours uh, in South Wales. So I'm
Okay.
not sure where he's living now, but he's regularly over in South Wales.
Yeah, well, he had been regularly coming to the States, but now I know they stopped him for this last trip.
Uh,
I'm coming in.
a lot of traveling is hard on your body, isn't it? So
Well, it is.
going back to your own development, then. Um, so you started out discovering trance via Arthur Findlay College, and then back in Lilydale, and it's getting deeper by the sound of it. The
It
more
is.
ectoplasmic it gets, usually the deeper the medium is under control. So do you witness anything yourself then of your own mediumship? Only what people tell you, I presume, is it?
Um, You know, I get a snippet of what the topics are that they've been talking about, and kind of I get a snippet of what people they've gone, because in my sense, I know they go to people, they'll give people direct messages. It's not just a general message. They'll have a specific message for someone. So I am aware that they'll go to people. And sometimes I'm kind of aware of a question because I allow them to ask question of the question, but the answers
Good
couldn't
and
tell
bad.
you. Yeah.
They're excellent, are they?
Well, they like the answers, but I can't tell you what they were.
Oh, right, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So I don't know. I don't. Yeah, I have to really wait. I mean, I come out of it. It's interesting because when the airports first started happening, people would say, "Oh, we get all excited." I felt no, I didn't feel anything at all. You know what I mean? I felt I was happy about it, but I didn't feel any emotion because I didn't feel like I did it. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah, it was the
Well,
spirit world, it wasn't me.
there's amazing things happen with airports. I don't know if you've seen one of my YouTube videos. It's all about the book 60 Years a Spiritualist by a man called Alan House. He's over the other side now. And he worked with a medium called Doreen Fowler, who's also over the other side. And their airports, Doreen's airports, just mind blowing. She could be sitting on the toilet and a great big book would land on her lap. And she'd open it up and it's from the Louvre. But she figured, oh, they got enough books there, I'll keep it. But every airport of a book, and I've seen the bookshelf filled with these 26 big books. They usually, like you said, have a personal link and a purpose. Like there were two sitters in the circle, husband and wife, and they were always searching for a book on agnostic Christianity, and they didn't find it before the husband died, crossed over. So in the seances that took place after he was over the other side, all of a sudden, the first big apport of a book in Doreen's mediumship was the book that the husband and wife were searching for. So, that's quite profound, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I also find outpours. I mean, I over the years, well, I have to say, when I was a teenager, that was when my first outpour appeared. And of course, I didn't know it was an outpour, but it was an arrowhead, and
Right.
it appeared in the back, my parents' backyard,
Yeah.
and I knew it had to appear because it was in the grass, and the kids and everybody were running around, and all of a sudden this arrowhead is there.
Yeah.
That was the first one. Then I had another outpour appear for me when I was in living in Rochester. When I first moved up there, I had a second outpour, and that one I knew had to have been an outpour because of the way I received it. But no, I have found outpours around the house, and I have to be careful. In fact, before we met, I checked the cushions again. They've
Make sure there's
been,
nothing there. Check them afterwards.
yeah, they've been appearing under the cushions. Ooh, I have to check the cushion on the couch. Um, so they do appear in my house. Coins and things have appeared in my house. So I never know. And then things have been moved around too.
Yeah.
They've moved airports around in my bedroom and things. But yeah,
Uh,
so that had happened before.
and take things away, maybe like a disport.
Yes, they have. They took a ring away from me. Um, I had a ring and I had it locked up in the safety deposit box. And then when I went to the safety deposit box to pull it out, it was gone.
Have they brought that back?
No, they haven't brought it back.
Anybody else got the code?
Nobody else had the code to the thing. They also, yeah, they've taken a couple things from me that they haven't brought back.
That's a bit naughty, though, taking a ring, isn't it? If it's valuable
Uh,
enough to lock up.
it wasn't that valuable. I mean, it wasn't like it was a diamond ring.
Right. Well, you had that plastic one. Is that a fair exchange?
Yes, yeah. This one is yeah. I know, but you should see the other rings that he usually outported were beautiful, beautiful with stones. I mean, everybody that I know that went to his seances all have his rings, and
Except
now
yourself.
I've got this one.
Yeah. So with the voices, then, do you have independent or direct voice, or is it your voice they use? Do they make a voice box, maybe?
They have been, I am aware of them changing my voice so that when the different spirits come through, although the people haven't been the last group were very quiet. They didn't tell me anything.
Oh,
I had to kind of pull it out of them. But my normal group that's with me will tell me, that the voice is changing, that they see the lights, that all of these are being touched and all these things are going on. This last group I had was very quiet, but that's okay. Oh, they told me that my face morphed into George Washington's face.
lovely.
That's what they told me.
Yeah. Did they bring the angel through as well? Because he's supposed to have seen an angel, isn't he?
I don't know whether all the angels have come through, but
So I've been having chats with paranormal investigators, and they got a mixed bag of viewpoints over transfiguration. They think sometimes people with a weathered face in a red light, well, you can make that look like anything. Now, in the red light, I've had a couple of mediums who say they're transfiguration mediums, and I couldn't see a thing. And yet, one day in the light with Margaret, just sitting opposite her, bang, 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 3 faces over her face, unequivocally. The people who they look like. One was Robert E. Lee. Then I think it might have been Sitting Bull. Might have been. It was definitely a Native American Indian. And the third one was George Armstrong Custer. He was the only one who spoke. So I started speaking with him, and I've got this on one of the other YouTubes. I asked him a question. It's hard. Probably your sitters find it hard to ask questions of, some of these high regarded spirits. But George Armstrong Custer, I asked him, what colour's your hair? And straight away, God damn it, boy. A definite American accent, God damn it, boy, I made the effort to speak with you, and all you can ask me is what colour hair I got. It's perfect. So, all right. So I asked him then what were the circumstances that had him at the front line in his first battle in the Civil War. And he came out with the answer. Well, Margaret could not have known the answer. I knew it. Been watching the history program.
yeah,
All about a mix-up of names, but he said it straight away. So I had an eye operation a month ago, and with the healing I do on a Tuesday, I do guided visualizations. And so I went into one of my own type of guided visualizations. But the eye operation is so interesting that you need something stronger. So I started asking questions, and well, kindly explain what happened with the transfiguration of those 3 faces. How did it take place? Because I didn't think it was ectoplasmic or photoplasmic. I didn't know what it was, but I didn't think it was either of those. And the explanation that I had, when all this eye work is going on, to take my mind off it, they've reminded me of a first contact, early days contact with a Native American guide, great big Indian fella. And he showed me 20 odd years ago, maybe 30, is pushing 30 years now, a pair of Texas longhorn cattle. Mm-hmm. Just the longhorns, where they have them on a saloon bar.
mm-hmm.
And he said, that bit in the middle, that's your brain. The bit in the middle of these 2 horns, that's your brain, physical. Your consciousness is 1 horn. And the other consciousness is what we use, or the other horn, sorry, is a consciousness that we use when we want to show you clairvoyance. The pictures that I see clairvoyantly, that's the other horn, is their use of 2 roots into the brain, if you like, 2 roots of consciousness into the brain. So with the eye operation, they basically said, normally you get a message from the eye into the brain. That's 1 horn. We cut it off and we put our own imagery in to your brain. And the imagery they put in was the 3 faces. So
Hmm.
I saw that mediumistically, those three faces, and it's not the only time I've seen faces in public. The other time I saw a face like that, transfigured, I said to a man sitting next to me, it was in a meditation thing, look at that. And he couldn't see a thing.
Yeah. Now I have to tell you, I was sitting in a friend's living room, and she did see my face do a transfiguration like you're talking about.
Just the one person, was it?
Yeah, it was just the one
And
person.
is she mediumistic that you know of?
Not, no, as far as I know, she wasn't.
Yeah. That's the big difference with physical, isn't it? In physical, everybody sees the face or such like. And
But
so,
yeah, go on.
and the photographs, if you can film it and you can see on the camera work a different face, then it's the epitome of physical mediumship, isn't it?
Yes, yes. Well, the transfiguration is very much a form of physical mediumship. And I mean, there is, yeah, and I guess that's probably why Sharon was saying to me, I'm doing physical mediumship, because I guess the transfiguration was coming through, because a lot of trance mediums don't do that.
No. And
Don't-
how are you experiencing ectoplasmic buildup, or is it photoplasmic, a different, the more modern version of ectoplasm?
I think it's ectoplasm, because I am starting to feel they're doing something with my throat. So
Right.
I don't what exactly they're doing there. I have been good. I have been sitting now. Now that this is all happening, I have
Yeah.
been sitting regularly at myself. And so they've been doing something with my throat. I've also had the sensation, and I asked Michael Shane about this, where all of a sudden, all of the, oh, my nose just started pouring. It's just fluids just started coming out. And he said that's a physical phenomena that happens with physical mediums.
Is there a smell as well? Do you smell it, or like
I don't
sulfury kind of smell maybe?
know. I don't smell it. I do feel the cobwebby kinds of things on my face, and I do get sensations in my body, with the blending. I definitely feel my hands change. They'll get bigger, they'll feel bigger. um and so and with Bill now, I'm noticing that because Bill had the brain cancer, that I'm starting to get, I don't get headaches, but I'm starting to get sensations of headaches. And
Right.
when I
So that's him
get,
telling you he's about then, isn't it?
yeah, I know that it's Bill about when I'm getting the headache, because right before I brought him through in his seance room, the headache started to come through.
Well, I
And
would acknowledge that and tell him, thanks very much. I know you're there. I don't need that at all.
that's basically
No,
what I do.
give me a headache.
Yeah. I sit there and go, I know it's not mine.
Because you are the master of your own ship.
That's right. But it's interesting that you said that about the horns and the consciousness, because that is what Cayce very much said in his writings or his
Did he?
teachings. Know if you have studied any of Edgar Cayce's
A little
work.
bit, yeah. Before I come on to that, there is a footnote to my story in that the very next day, the family, we all went to a holiday resort. Very basic. It's like where they have chalets, caravans or whatever. I don't think it was caravans, but they have big clubhouse event for entertainment. And as we approached the clubhouse to go inside, right above the door was three Texas Longhorn, uh, parts of the horns, as they have in America, no doubt, countless places. Yeah. So Edgar Cayce, I've always called him Casey. Some people call him Case, don't they? And when the first time I was introduced to him, it's got to be 30 to 40 years ago through a martial artist. He was a fond reader of Edgar Cayce. He said, "Have a look at this." He says, "The original Ed Case." So his mediumship is just off the planet, isn't it? So how have you got involved then with the Edgar Cayce Centre, and what do you do there?
Well, I have I have been part of they have study groups, so I've been going to a number of study groups. I have been very fortunate that I've just been accepted into their speaker program, which is a program where each individual creates their own topic. We're working for like 6 months on our talk. And at the end, we do an hour-long presentation, which they videotape and they share with the rest of the group. And some people then go on and do live presentations at the Cayce Centre. So my talk, which I'm sure is going to be a little bit controversial, is about Cayce's psychic development.
Right.
Now, I had just an article's coming out that I just wrote comparing Cayce's work to spiritualism,
Right.
doing the similarities and the differences between the two.
Right.
So
That's
very
totally valid, that is, isn't it?
yeah. So I'm very much interested in how Cayce's work is different from everything I've learned all these years in spiritualism, and how his development is different. And also, what is the purpose? We were very clear on the purpose of why we do mediumship, from an SNU type of perspective. But the Cayce work is very, very different because he's doing mediumship to try to help improve people in their daily lives. So he's more interested in the message and not the evidence.
Right. Where is the Cayce Centre then?
It's in Virginia Beach.
So that's your winter.
That's my winter place, yes.
Excellent. I can see
So
the reason that.
So yeah, I'm 15 minutes from the Cayce. I live 15 minutes from the Cayce Centre in Virginia Beach.
And when did you start getting involved?
Well, of course, years and years and years ago, I read all the Cayce books,
Right.
like you did. Yeah.
Yeah, I've
I
only
was,
read a couple.
yeah, introduced to it, but I knew one reason why I picked Virginia Beach was because I knew there would be like-minded people from the Cayce Centre. So then I started going there and got more involved. And I was fortunate enough to meet Corinne Cayce, who is Edgar's great-great-granddaughter.
Wow.
And she works very much so at the Cayce Centre. And I did a life coaching course with her, and she was wonderful and kept going to study groups. And they have a group called the Glad Helpers, which is a healing group, very much like spiritual healing. And so I'm going to join them when I go back
Lovely.
in fall. But
Mm.
yeah, so I'm working on my speech, which is Cayce Psychic Development.
Have you had any recorded yet?
Yes, I've done some talks on it. I did a talk on it for Victor and Wendy, and I did a talk on it for a group out in San Diego.
Any of that on YouTube?
Did I do any on YouTube? I don't think I really got a chance to do it on my YouTube channel.
So where is Wendy Zamet's recording there? It'll be on her.
It is okay. If you go to victorzamet.com,
Okay.
Victor's one word.com/Zoom,
Yep.
all of the recordings, all of the 5-7 years of all of the Sunday recordings are there.
Right.
So
Right.
all of my recordings are there. And I have recordings on spirit art as well. We did a really interesting one a number of years ago on Harold Sharp, which was great because I was talking about him, and some of the British participants actually started talking about styles of art that nobody had documented before.
Lovely. I have a question about physical mediumship and Zoom. Now, there are people since lockdown occurred with COVID who set up, I'm not sure which organization was behind it. I think it's Wendy and Victor Zamet are part of it, and they do physical mediumship on Zoom.
Yes.
I think they've got an American medium. Would that be correct?
Yes,
What do you think about that? Are you involved with
well,
Zoom?
I haven't joined their physical seance, yes, but I know the people that run it, and they have been getting phenomena. I can tell you this, that I started doing trance sessions on Zoom And in our trance sessions, we started getting physical phenomena. We started getting noises, the rappings started coming through. And so me, of course, is it intelligence? Are you intelligent? Is there spirit there? Yes. So we started doing yes and no questions. And through a series of yes and no questions, we determined that the spirit was Gordon Higginson.
Oh, lovely.
So Gordon has been coming through to quite a few American mediums and different mediums. He's also come through me. So yeah, so you can get the phenomena. And I've seen like light phenomena happen through Zoom with different sessions. I am running a new trance circle on Zoom right now myself. So we'll see what happens. But
Right.
the ones that are doing the physical, they are getting rappings and knockings and phenomena happening in the individual homes of the people who are participating.
Lovely. That might be something I'd be interested in. Timing
So
might be a bit out though, and is the problem, isn't it? It's the timing.
yeah, the timing, no, the timing would not be good for you. Unfortunately, the nighttime stuff is not good for the British. And I know I have gotten up at 5 o'clock in the morning and done some things that to participate in some things in Europe, but yeah, I don't know if you could do it during the day. I think they do it at night because it's darker.
Yeah, it's more conducive, isn't it? What about Edgar Cayce? Has he ever come through? Or
Yes, he did actually. He did come through.
come through
Uh,
yourself, or through somebody else you know?
well, he came through me. Yeah, he
Right,
did. Um, I I have no idea what he said. I they did tell me he came through. It was in one of the seances with when Bill was working with me. So I'm not sure what he said, but he has come clairvoyant, he has come through me. When the first time I went and sat in the meditation room in the Cayce Center, he did come through to me. And I did have it confirmed with somebody else that the message he gave me was also very similar to a message he gave somebody else.
right.
So I know it was him that he did come through. And I know that he's being, what should I say? I know that he's being very supportive of the work that I'm doing because so much of his stuff has been slightly misunderstood,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
the other thing is that he never wanted to be, how should I say it? He never wanted to be in the limelight like this, that wasn't really his thing. So I think he's being supportive and working with me in some ways to try to get these ideas about the psychic development out there, because the way the Cayce Centre has done the psychic development, it doesn't seem like psychic development, if that makes sense.
yeah.
And I'll explain it this way. Cayce psychic development was, I'll say it's up here. He wanted you to be able to hear the word of God.
Right.
Okay. So all of the things they do are to get somebody to go here. They don't deal with in between steps, and they don't really acknowledge the talking to deceased relatives, because Cayce was very had warnings like the Baptists, and this is typical Baptist thing. I found out the reason why they don't want people to go to mediums is because they think you're going to get an evil spirit. They think you're going to bring through something that's negative. They don't realize that the mediums are working only in the positive light.
Yeah,
Similar thing with Cayce work. They do not talk about the Summerland. They do not talk about the higher realms of heaven. They talk about the borderland. And in the borderland, you have everything. You will have, you'll have your spirits that are earthbound. You'll have everything there. So Cayce was always warning people, don't go into those levels. But when you're dealing with mediumship, it's my perspective that it's the in-between ground where we're trying to communicate with deceased relatives is helpful, because then you have verification. Then you know that you're not crazy, you know that there really is something going on here. And then you can move on and move up to working more with the Akashic records. And when you get to the Akashic records, it is a different level of information. So I'm finding with myself, with my own work, because I'm working up towards those higher levels now, I am getting much deeper information.
Well,
And just
sounds beautiful. Yeah. When was Edgar Cayce doing his earthwork then? I can't remember the dates, the years.
in the 1920s and 1930s,
And even
with a
30.
lot of it.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I
he
mean,
could have gone down the spiritualist route then, I suppose. It was
well,
on it, wasn't it?
they he did an interaction with Eileen Garrett, which is another topic that for future research is one that I want to research. Um, they have this thing called, I guess, what Cayce Pioneers, and I think that Cora Richmond is another one that has to be looked at, because Cora Richmond's work here in the United States was very soul oriented.
Right.
She also believed that people travel to other planets, and Cayce believed that we did have soul travel to other planets. So the two of them have a lot of similar ideas. So I want to look at her work versus his work. And Andrew Jackson Davis, the Cayce Center has the whole archives of Andrew Jackson
Wow.
Davis. So he has been considered, like a Cayce pioneer
Yeah.
type thing. But Eileen Garrett did a trance session with Edgar Cayce. And so I haven't seen her side of the trance part of it, but I've seen his side of it. And I want to get more information about what happened there with that interaction.
Was Eileen Garrett the Irish medium then?
Yeah.
Is that the one that Julie Coyle has just written a book about?
I don't know. I mean,
I'll have to get her on.
Eileen's granddaughter, a number of people I know Eileen Garrett's granddaughter. So
Right.
at one, I might try to get in touch with her to see if she knows anything about the Cayce interaction.
Yeah, good idea.
Because yeah, it was really interesting. And they were interested in spiritualism, the Cayce Institute, that they never kind of really pursued it with it. Of course, I'm in a unique position because of my SNU credentials and knowing so much about mediumship, and I can bring all of that to the Cayce work.
Yeah. But his work does sounding absolutely wonderful, because I think he's credited with about, is it 8,000 prescriptions that he did in his sleep trance?
Something like that. I mean, there were thousands and thousands of them, and they're
Yeah.
all down at the Edgar Cayce Center. They have put them into loaning library books where you can look up different topics. Originally he started doing health treatments, giving people, and a lot of it was like homeopathic types of information to help people with ailments. He did a tremendous amount of research or writing about MS, multiple sclerosis. And so since I have multiple sclerosis,
Really?
yeah, I have been using the Cayce treatments
And do they
for
work?
4 months now.
Yeah. Are they
Well,
too early
it's
to say, isn't
it, it's the only thing I'm doing. I'm not on any medication for it at
Right.
all. I'm just doing the Cayce treatments.
How does MS affect your mediumship?
It was really funny. Very early on when I started going to the Arthur Finley College, I was concerned about it, and there was somebody else there who had MS far worse than I did, and he no problem. It's no problem at all with it.
I used to sit in a physical circle, and the medium had a pacemaker in, and so she was monitored with a pacemaker 24/7. And one thing they did on the review was to specifically check the times when she would have been sitting in the seance, what the effect was on her body, because it was sending a message back continuously to the where they monitored it. And for that exact time that she was always under the deep trance, it was perfect. Her heart rate before and afterwards, up and down, normal heart rates, recorded by the pacemaker technology. But for that period that she was sitting under control, perfect.
Well,
every
that's
session.
I had a friend who does the brainwave things.
Yeah,
So they put the brain waves on me and I went into trance
yeah.
cabinet, and the whole time I was in trance, my left brain completely flat and the
Wow.
right brain was very active. So that goes with your horn stories.
It does, doesn't it? It does
Yeah.
indeed. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've worked out with that Native American from day one that he used coincidences as a form of communication. So there's no surprise in seeing a demonstration of the actual horns in the physical the following day. That was such a common experience with him and the way that he did things.
Well, we did. Was it when Sharon Harvey was here? Um, her face transfigured into Einstein. And Shannon Taggart actually got a picture of it and then put a piece of Einstein next to it to show the two. I don't know. The other thing I can try, I just thought of it. I can try to see if we could capture some of it on Zoom.
It works through Zoom. The Brandon Kim did a book on Red Cloud, Stell Roberts' mediumship. And I interviewed him just to promote the book for him. And then he phoned me up, or no, he didn't phone. He did a messenger through Facebook. He said, "Who was Margaret present when we did that?" I said, "Yeah." "Did she speak?" "No." And she was about 4 meters away, the other side of the living room. We did it upstairs. "Why do you ask?" He said, "Well, there's a woman saying hundreds on it." A friend of his noticed when she saw the recording, "Well, who's that woman?" So that's why he asked me, was it Margaret? And as it happened, I had Margaret's phone right next to me. It went off. But Zoom stops background noise. It's part of the formulas they've got. So I picked up the phone, handed it to Margaret, and you can't hear it. You can hear me talking, but you can't hear her talking. She walked out of the room. You didn't hear the phone ring. But, crystal clear is this extra voice saying, and it's in context. I'm asking Brandon, how many manuscripts did you have? 200? Then why I chose 20? 200? 20? You go bigger, don't you? But anyway, he said, oh, loads of manuscripts. And in the middle of that conversation, hundreds. So it's actually in the Zoom.
Wow.
But we didn't notice it at the time.
Well, no, Zoom does pick it up. They are using Zoom because we know they're using all kinds of electronic devices. They have been, people have been getting text messages from their departed loved ones and things like that as
The phone
well.
calls in the early days.
Well, we know about the phone calls, yeah.
Yeah. And people are working with TVs, aren't they?
Yeah, Sonia Rinaldi is getting some really incredible images, video images, with ITC, yeah. We are doing another conference. We're doing a conference again. We've already got it planned for Lilydale. It's a pre-season conference. This conference is going to be called Psychic Sampler, Body, Mind, and Soul. And we're going to be doing more psychic investigation.
Oh.
We'll have a little bit of trance mediumship, a little bit of physical mediumship, a little more mental mediumship. I'm going to have Nancy Smith do a thing on the Akashic Records. I'll be doing a little bit of teaching on the Cayce work, Cayce Psychic Development. And at the end of it, Michael and Julie will be doing physical seances at Neil's again at the end of the conference. So it's a fun event.
And when is that then? When
It's
does
going to
the
be
season start?
June. Oh, is it June 15th through 19th? in Lilydale. And then what happens is the next day after the conference, Lilydale opens up. And usually they have the Tibetan monks come.
Ah,
So it's, yeah, it is. It's a nice event, and everything we're doing is active, you know, I mean, it's all experiments for people. It's not lecture.
wonderful. Well, thank you very much, Sue.
Thank
A real
you.
pleasure.
And I hope to see you on a Wednesday.
Yeah,
Take care.
hundreds and hundreds, hundreds and hundreds. I mean,
Wow.
it's yeah, hundreds and hundreds, hundreds and hundreds. I mean,
Wow.
it's
So somebody has taken the effort originally to produce those typed manuscripts, and there's a lot of them. How many of them are there then?
a lot.
A lot. What are we talking? 200, 20?
Yeah, hundreds and
talking?
hundreds, hundreds and hundreds. I mean,
Wow.
it's I'm actually in discussion with Paul.
Those typed manuscripts, and there's a lot of them. How many of them are there then?
A lot.
A lot. What are we talking? 200, 20?
Yeah, hundreds and
talking?
hundreds, hundreds and hundreds. I mean,
Wow.
it's I'm actually in discussion with Paul. Yeah, hundreds and hundreds, hundreds and hundreds. I mean,
Wow.
it's yeah, hundreds and hundreds, hundreds and hundreds. I mean,
Wow.
it's yeah, hundreds and hundreds, hundreds and hundreds. I mean,
Wow.
it's